GFCI question. I am installing a dehumidifier in my crawlspace. My plan is to run a separate circuit for this unit. I will use 14-2 wire. I want to run the wire to a GFCI inside a closet under my stairwell, then onto the unit. My rationale is I can place the GFCI in an accessible area and use the audible style. This way, if anything trips, I will know immediately instead of finding out some time later when the humidity rises. I already have a mold problem. Does this violate any codes?
Hello. In order to be fully code compliant, you must use an arc fault circuit interrupter and a GFCI on that circuit. You can install a combination device circuit breaker.
What's a combination device circuit breaker? I have seen the arc fault circuit breakers.
Also, if you mean you want to run a cord up through the floor and plug into the receptacle in the closet, that is not code compliant. You would have to run the house wiring down to a regular outlet in the crawl space, one that is protected with a GFCI/FC. Combination breaker is just a dual function of C/GFCI.
I will add a receptacle at the end of the circuit to plug the dehumidifier in. Outside panel with arc fault wire to closet and place audible GGI wire back into the crawl space to a receptacle for the dehumidifier. My rationale is if something goes wrong with the dehumidifier under the house, I might not know for some time. With the audible GFI in the closet, it gives me an advantage. It's hard to find a blank face 15 amp GFI with audible.
Okay, that sounds acceptable. Let me just double check the code book on that install. Please stand by.
Unless you can think of another way that I can have an audible alarm in my house.
I can, but it probably won't be as cheap. I double-checked the code section for FC protection and looks like you are good to go with an FC breaker and a GFCI in your closet for the crawlspace outlet. When you do penetrate the floor, you will need a sleeve for protection of the cable, such as a section of steel EMT tubing.
It will be up a wall. I do have an open area next to my plastic vent stack. Can I run it through that or drill a separate hole? I should say inside the wall. I'm running everything to a new workbox. I'm good at this. Lots of practice.
It's allowable to run it through that space, but the code that requires protection in a sleeve when passing through the floor still stands. It should extend 6 inches above the floor. It can be sleeved with rigid metal conduit, intermediate metal conduit, electrical metallic tubing, Schedule 80 PVC conduit.
Wow. Codes have changed. How do I get the conduit in place?
If there's room for an EMT to fit between the pipe and edge of the hole, cut a piece and push it up through. Then secure with pipe strapping. If no room for that, then I would suggest drilling a new hole for conduit sleeve.
Okay, no room to put anything next to the vent stack. I'll have to drill a new hole through the middle of the joist. I'll have to experiment with my spade bits on some old wood to find the correct size hole to tap some PVC into where it will be snug. Can I mount this at any height? I was thinking at eye level.
Can you mount the receptacle at any height? Yes.
Does my PVC theory sound plausible? It's more difficult since it's after the fact. New build isn't the same issue.
Maybe, but you could just shim it and then caulk around it to keep in place.
Okay. Why the addition of the arc fault in combination with a GFI?
Arc fault is now required in pretty much every room in the house. Here's the list of areas from the 2017 NEC: kitchens, family rooms, dining rooms, living rooms, parlors, libraries, dens, bedrooms, sunrooms, recreation rooms, closets, hallways, laundry areas, or similar rooms or areas.
Okay. Thanks, this has been enlightening. I didn't realize the arc fault was so popular.
Yeah, it's become the standard now.
Thanks for the help.
Glad to be of assistance. Good luck.
Sorry, forgot something. I have to use a 15 amp GFI and arc fault since I'm using 14:2 wire, right? I can't use the 20 amp GFI and arc fault since I'm using the 14:2 wire. I would have to go to 12:2.
Correct. Number 14 copper is limited to 15 amps and number 12 is limited to 20 amps.
Hard to find the blank face 15 amp GFI. I have a GE panel.
Do you need a blank? And do you need help finding the AFCI GE breaker?
I can find the GE arc fault at Home Depot. The GFI in 15 amp with audible and blank face seems scarce. Maybe I'm overthinking this. There are plenty of 15 amp GFI with audible and plug faces.
Yeah, I don't think you need a blank. It would be more preference.
Just an FYI. I have 2 tricks when drilling holes from under the house. I take an old metal coat hanger and straighten it out. Put it in my drill and drill down. Go under the house and look for it. Naturally, look before I drill to make sure I don't hit anything live. Since I do this next to the trim, I then measure back to the center of the stud, taking into account the trim and sheetrock thickness plus 1 3/4 inch from the edge of the stud to the center. I also bring a pull-through wire up with my electrical wiring. I use some bell wire and keep it tied off. I can tell you that there have been times I needed to pull additional wire through the same hole, and this makes it so much easier. It's a one-man job at my house.
Sounds good.
If you have a home improvement or appliance question and want to chat with an expert now, visit justanswer.com/ythi.